Hey guys, today we have a match against CleanerCode. The map is on Dendritic, and for the beginning I'm just gonna speed it up. There's nothing that special that happens here. The only difference is there's a little bit of lag, and my opponent chose to go south, go to the side with his CO, and I chose to go to the center. Other than that, there was nothing too special about the opening. There's no cheeses, no rushes that I see. So recently, I looked through all my commentated matches, all my recorded matches, and I realized I have some commanders that I just never have on record, like on videos, and Twins was one of them. Elodie was in like the older videos, but Twins, Vesper, and Wolfar were the ones that came out, but I didn't really have recordings on. So I was like, okay, I should probably upload some of those soon. So there's one of them where I played Twins against CleanerCode. Last match I played him was the fog match. I got really lucky there, but it turned out great at the end. So last time we didn't play with timers, this time we did. And CleanerCode does take a while for his turns, so I just decided to cut some of the longer periods so that we just don't stare at like the same screen for a minute or like 30 seconds. Because I don't think anyone wants that. Anyways, so here we exit the opening phase. So we captured all our villages, and then we're starting to get our main army together. So I built a harpy here because if you notice, there's a port on the side of the map. The map's not too big, so a harpy early on can control the waters in the corners. This is very important because if you don't do that, the merfolk will just run around and mess with your income like that. So one thing that was different was I captured the bottom village with my sword. So his merfolk couldn't decap it in one turn, while he captured his side with his commander. And since the commander started with a lower health, the captured village also started with lower health. So I got to decrease his income by 100 or even more, since he would take time to capture it back. So my opponent does go for Harpy as well. I think it's a very important unit on some maps. On other maps, not so much, because it's much harder for Harpies to move around once mages and alchemists get on the field. And because it's over water on this map, the Harpy has a way easier time. On this map, harpoons are banned, so I don't have to worry about a giant like ballista on the water staring the harpy down. So here, notice how we both healed, but he healed one turn late, and that allows me to actually hit him. If he healed from a safer place, then he would have less space in the center, and I would get to control the center more. If he did do that, I could still hit the village, but he went for a very risky heal. So there, I could just hit his commander, force him to heal again, and my commander is still at a fairly decent amount of health. My swords and my other units can't actually be hit. So like I control the center, he has to back off, so I would have more space and I control more of the flow of the game, since I do pressure him a lot with this. Here I decide to make a ballista. Since I am winning on the center, I have this chance, I have this moment to create that ballista. Barge is mandatory because I can't actually leave without a barge. So I built the barge and the ballista at the same time. If you build the barge without the ballista, then you have this barge awkwardly hanging around. And if you do build the ballista, you have a ballista that's hanging around that can't actually move out. So here my opponent has to back off because he has no pressure in the center whatsoever. He does move his harpy towards the center instead of towards the corners. So that does help him with controlling the center and gaining back that control. So he backs off, he wastes more gold on the heel. And his swords are kind of awkward because they can't really do much. He did decap one of the villages, which is good. Then he brings everything to the center, because on this map, center is everything. If you control the center, then you apply a lot of pressure on the headquarters. So my game plan after I built my ballista was that, okay, I have a ballista, I'm gonna control the center. Afterwards, I'm gonna place the fire near the HQ, and then on the last turn of the fire, I'll have 2 knights staring the headquarters down, and I'll rush in after the fire finishes. Because when the fire is at the maximum, and you place your fire well and your knights well, your opponent can't actually respond to that anymore. The fire will kill anything on the path of the knights, and since it does it on the beginning of your turn, no matter what the opponent does, it will just get killed. If you place a unit there, it will be destroyed. If you don't place a unit there, the knight crit will happen and then you lose the game anyways. So that was the plan, right? You control the center, get the knights out, you go for the HQ after the fire finishes. One other thing is that while the fire is actually happening, you could run units in, and then your opponent can't actually respond to that. Because if you run your units in and stand in the fire, the opponent would just lose units if they attack it back. So they would have to just let that unit be. Right? If they stand to block the headquarters, then they lose the unit at the beginning of the turn. Beginning of the twins' turn anyway. So it's just a very hard time to defend after the fire gets to at least the second stage. So the game state right now. So he takes back his villages. The income is getting closer because he gets to capture this turn, and next turn I can't really take back the top because of the harpy, and my merfolk has to back off. Notice how both of us brought our merfolks to the land. It's not gonna do much on the water since the harpy is zoning them out, so it's much better to just get an additional unit on the land. It might not hit much because it is slow on land, but it still has that unit count advantage. Can act as a body blocker if all else fails. If you can hit stuff with it, great. If you don't, you still have that threat of that extra unit there. So my opponent is playing Elodie, trying to get the center. And for Elodie, since she is slow charged, she would need a few hits, like a few kills, to actually get the groove. So my plan is to deny her as much as possible. Villages are the easiest targets to hit because they can't run away, and commanders do a lot of damage to them. So right now, she can actually hit 3 of my villages, so I have to prevent that. It's very important for powerful grooves to be stalled as much as possible. Let's see. I did build a mage last turn. So one misconception that a lot of people have about the ballista is that ballista counters air. Yes, it does do a whole bunch of damage against air, but the problem is air is proactive. The ballista, unfortunately, should be treated as a passive unit. You're not going to be attacking with it a lot of the times, but you're going to be zoning with it a lot of the times. So you're going to have a barrier, basically a barrier, where air cannot enter. If it does enter, then one of them is going to go down. If you get hit like the ballista and go in with the air, that's good. But if you go in with the air, can't hit the ballista, then that area, you will just lose an air unit. It's not there to counter air, because air can still attack into that position and get the ballista damaged or killed. So it's not a direct counter to air. It's a tool to zone out air and to gain space. Okay, so here I position my stuff so that if Elodie ever hits anything close, she'll be punished by stuff that's nearby. Now, Elodie is very good at bullying out strong units, like the golem. See how I still built a golem, because not only are golems good for offense, it's very good for defense. It takes a lot of effort to take down a golem. And that's what you need when you build siege units or range units in this game. You need things that could defend the range units well. So terrain is one of the bigger defenders, you could say, because it basically stops a lot of the units from ever attacking it. Villages or buildings are also a big defender, because you can't ever stand on that spot. So you need a range unit to hit over that village or building. So notice how I positioned my ballista behind the building and have a harpy blocking the other side of my ballista. So if you don't have an anti-air, you can't actually hit my ballista. So this is one very important thing, is you get your defenders to defend your range units. So I've got a golem because I know that Elodie would have a really hard time getting groove, and my golem can defend my ballista very well. It also fits with my game plan, because the golem does a lot of damage. I think it's like 40 or like 30 something, close to 40, for hitting the headquarters. So if I fire, I hit the headquarters when the golem hit it with something else, I could just win like that. So my position from before. Okay, so I moved my ballista up. My opponent positioned his harpies very well, so I had to respond to that, or else I lose a whole bunch of stuff. Especially when he invested in a thief. So that thief can decap my village in one turn. Same with my port, actually. So I have to respect that positioning from that thief. It's not gonna decap my port this turn, but next turn, since he has the harpies already there, he can move a lot of his stuff up there, capture the port, and I would have a really hard time getting that port back if he defends it well. Since Elodie is a more defensive commander, I would have a really hard time pushing that. So here I just position my stuff so that if he ever attacks into me, he's gonna get punished. I also put my commander up front because I know that at max he can only hit me from 2 squares, and nothing there would allow him to kill me on that turn, since I am sitting on a forest and the knight can't crit. Elodie doesn't do enough damage, so I was safe there sitting in the center. I did get Groove, so for those who don't know what twins do, I think you know, but fire is you select a tile from like 5 range, and afterwards anything that stands in that tile, friendly or not friendly, will be burned, so it will just be destroyed. Buildings not included, but commanders, air units, sea units, whatever it is, friendly or not friendly, it'll just die. And it expands by 1 tile every single turn at the beginning of the twins' turn. The other groove that the twins have is cooling water. So instead of killing stuff and expanding, it has a big area that heals any unit on it, and it shrinks every single turn. Heals by like 20, so it's like a mage heal for a couple of turns. That one's not that good, because enemy units can actually heal from that. So you could actually benefit the enemy more than yourself. So my opponent here positions very defensively. I can never hit that ballista, and that's just basically a place that I can't attack into. But the problem with that is he gives up control of the center, so I have more space. I can position my stuff more forward. He does capture my, not capture, he does steal from my village, and I can't punish that, so I just lost 300 gold, and he gained 300 gold, basically. So here is where I put my units up front to pressure the headquarters, because once the fire comes down, there's not much that could stop it. So like I said, I position my golem and my commander to block off the ballista, stop the opponent from ever reaching my ballista, and if my opponent comes near the ballista, then he gets damaged. Here I move everything back. So once the fire is here, you just need to time it so that when the fire ends, you have 2 knights, or however much you need to damage the headquarters, and you finish the game after the fire finishes, or even before that. So this forces my opponent to approach, and my opponent approaches, my ballista will like hit all the units, and if there's any air units, then they can't actually participate. Right there, I position my RP up to the left so that I could hit the headquarters from the mountain. Crit Harpy on headquarters does a lot of damage, so my opponent has to cover that. One thing my opponent did not do very well is his unit choices. Notice how he built a knight, he built a mage, built a bunch of merfolk, and an archer. But it turns out that they don't actually do much against my composition. So one thing that my opponent could have done better was purchase something big and just bowl me out. So it would be like a golem of his own, a dragon, would be very good here, since dragons are very good at hitting golems. They do like 65 on something, I think. And they, how do I say this? They're very good at breaking through positions, just because of their high base damage and their high mobility. One tip that I could give to everyone is, on your opponent's turn, you should check your ranges, especially on the units that ended their turn, because you know that they can't move that anymore. So if you check the ranges, you know the range for your next turn. So if my opponent tries to like group up and defend my headquarters, defend their headquarters, but like at this point it's already too late. I got my ballista in position, I got my stuff in position, I'm starting to build my knights, so the game plan is there and it's coming together. So when you play on any map, you should know what you're gonna do. So sometimes I might say, okay, I'm gonna turbo out a dragon and I'm gonna control the center. After I control the center, I'm going to use that pressure to pressure the left side. Or in other games, I might say, I'll get a golem faster than usual, and paired with my commander, I'm gonna hit on one of the barracks, let's say, and try to pressure that barracks to spend a lot of money there. And then if my opponent spends too much, my other stuff on the other side of the map can easily wipe out the cheaper stuff because he can't spend the money there. So that's a tip that everyone should know. It's like, on this map, what am I gonna do and how am I gonna get there? So here I'm gonna fire the HQ, get a bunch of knights, control the center, and then just win the game from there. My opponent, his game plan is pretty muddled. It's hard to see what he's trying to go for, right? And also that the knight is just to kill off anything that comes close. I mean, it's not going to do much anywhere else, but yeah. My opponent has a very strange game plan. He does get a golem here, but I feel like that's a bit too late. The fire is already on the board. It's already starting to expand. Now, for those who think that this is broken, like twins are busted, there's no way to stop this. There's actually a way to stop this. All you have to do is approach the twins around the fire. And you actually just have to attack the things that will attack into the headquarters. So if you do manage to damage the knights and not secure that like headquarter push, then they won't have groove and they will have a harder time. So the fire is there to make you approach the twins. If the twins are not approachable, chances are you lost. But a lot of the times, you should be able to match the twins' army. And since you have a different groove, you should be able to use that groove to force out the twins. Right? This is not a surefire way. This is not guaranteed to win the game. This map is also good for the twins. Not all maps are good for the twins, because sometimes it's very hard for a commander to actually get close to the headquarters. Like, they might be on the other side of the map defending your own headquarters, and then the enemy headquarters takes like like 3 turns to at least get there, let alone put down the fire and wait more. So it depends on the map. This map, you control the center, you control the pressure on the headquarters. So it's a good thing for twins. But other than that, it's very hard to use twins like this. Now I just consider what I should do to attack the headquarters, because you could sacrifice units now and then see that opponent doesn't put enough units in front of the headquarters and just still win before the fire ends and before the knight gets there. One thing to add to the ballista is, after you get the ballista, it doesn't mean that you don't get mages. You still have to get mages. Okay, remember this. If you get ballistas, you still have to get mages. Okay, getting ballista doesn't mean that you're free from building mages ever again. Because mages can move into forests, can heal, and can proactively force out the air units. Remember, ballistas are passive, they can't move and attack. So you have to have mages with it. Don't skip them. They're good units. I did take a bit of time here. I was wondering what I should do with my harpy right now, and I decided to hit the headquarters. So this forces my opponent to deal with it. He has a ballista of his own, but it's not doing that much. I could have ended my turn right here, but I don't know what I was doing. Okay, end your turn, end your turn. So we were playing on a timer. He spent a lot of time, my opponent spent a lot of time. He only has 7 minutes left, I had like 13. And timer pressure does affect the quality of your play. The lower, like the less time you have, the more mistakes you're prone to getting. No, the more mistakes you might like do. Like you might do more mistakes just because you're on that time pressure and you have to do these quick moves and you can't think things through as well as players who have more time. Oops, my opponent placed his doggo on the fire. Yeah, so don't do that if you're playing against the twins. Don't ever place your units in the fire, because it's gonna die anyways. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't body block, doesn't wall anything. The only thing that might go in the fire is something that will capture a key village, and you really need that village to be up on your side. So that's probably the only time you would actually put a unit into the fire. Maybe there's a case I'm missing, but I think that's the only case you would actually place your unit in the fire. So right now my opponent probably has no idea how to deal with my stuff. Right, you built knights thinking that you could break through and hit my ballista with that knight. But the problem with that is, how are you going to break through in the first place? It's very hard sometimes to even get past that wall, let alone just hitting the ballista with like a knight crate or something. Yeah, don't leave your units in the fire. Okay, so the golem does 48% to the headquarters. There was nothing here. I'm pretty sure, I am fairly certain, there is no headquarter kill this turn. That's why I didn't go for it. I was checking. You can check with your units, right? You just click on it, but you don't attack with it. What did I do here? Okay. I healed. Oh right, you can heal and then you do more damage with that sword and you run it in. Okay, I ran it in. I don't think that was necessary, to be honest. Because next turn I could just get my knights into position. Or next turn. It still has 2 more turns of fire. Because at the last expansion, it still does that fire and it goes away. Yeah, my opponent really needed a dragon in this situation. Just so that it could break through this formation. Even if it like dies, it should be fine because you'll stabilize with your own groove. Twins wouldn't have groove anymore. What I could have done was be more active with my twins so that I could get up a second groove while the fire is on the field. That's about it. At this point, there's no saving the headquarters. I mean, you could try, but it's not gonna end up well for you. Also notice how his anti-air is only the ballista right now. His mage is pretty far back. So my air units basically had a free defense on my ballista. Okay, my opponent tries to attack from the left side, or at least like get to the left side and pressure me to leave. Which is actually pretty good. I think he just did it 1 turn too late. If he did it a turn earlier, I think things would actually be very different. I might actually have to back off from this situation. Another golem. I would have built a dragon here instead of a golem and a harpy. Okay, so this is the last turn of the fire. There's plenty of space for my army to cover my knights. My knights will get free crits after the fire ends. So all I have to do is keep my commander alive, keep my knights alive, or full health, or have enough mages to heal them to full health. So that was just the plan. Keep my knights alive, keep my commander alive. Anything else, it could just go in the fire. If that's what it takes, then just do it, because you're gonna win with the knights. Knights are the win condition. Guess I could mention the merfolk a little bit. If you choose not to build merfolk, and your opponent does build it, you're gonna have a really hard time later on to the game. They invested into unit count. Merfolk is expensive now, but since it is a unit on the board, and if you get enough of them, how are you gonna deal with it? Because they are ranged, they are 2 range. And if you have like a 5 merfolk rushing down your villages, what are you gonna do with it? Especially if they have anti-air paired with that. Usually just getting air is good enough to deal with them, but if there's 5 of them and there's like an air rider and a mage beside them, you're not gonna break through. And that group will just run you down. Pretty sure there's like a better way to cover my stuff, but I just did this anyways. Hex is not only a offensive tool, but it's also a defensive tool. You decrease the enemy's attack strength by 50. No, not by 50. What am I saying? By 10. 10%. Since they have 10% less health, they do 10% less damage. Because the less health you have, the less damage you have. Okay, so here I had to be careful with my commander. I realized like, oh, dang. I could have placed that dragon to cover my commander. So it was pretty risky, you could say. Because if you die with your commander this turn, you're not gonna win. Because you just straight up lost due to you losing the twins. So that's what I did. I didn't attack anything with my commander. Not my commander, my golem, I think. Because, yeah, if I leave my golem there, he can't actually deal with that. And I would have 2 little squares open up for my commander to die. Okay, I even healed the sword to be more annoying to block that path. If you try to do this and you mess it up, chances are you're gonna lose the game. Yeah, but in this situation, there's no way he could come back from this. All the squares that my knight needs are open after the fire finishes. So realizing that, I think my opponent just, you know what you're gonna do if you can't do anything else. You might as well put all your units in the fire. I mean, he tried to go for the dream, but one of his units couldn't fit, which is quite unfortunate. Right, he tries to go for my commander, but my golem was in the way, and after that, just gives up basically. Can't do anything else about this. See, even if you have your entire army blocking off, if you stand the fire, you're going to die. Here, his commander died from standing the fire, but if his commander's not in there, just attack the HQ with the knights. Well, anyways, good game to CleanerCode. I hope he takes his game off of me in the future, especially in the tournament match coming up. But yeah, Twins gameplay. I would get Vesper gameplay soon, so look out for that. And yeah, leave any thoughts in the comments. If you have any questions, leave them down there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.